Shanghailanders is set it starts in 2040 and it moves backwards in time to 2014. I I liked the idea of setting it in the future because I think that when we think about the future, oftentimes when we imagine the future, when we um, consume stories or content or ideas about the future, it can be very dramatic. The future is bleak, it's dystopian, it's incredibly different from from the life that we live now. People and lives and the world, everything works in a different way. And I think that that certainly can be true, but I think it's also true in many spheres of life that the future comes very slowly and that change happens slowly, if at all. Um, I remember my publisher asking me what I think will be the same in like 2050, and I was like, I think writers will still be using Microsoft Word because it's like a really imperfect tool, but it's the tool that we know and that we keep using, and for other various reasons, that's the only one we have in many cases. So I was very interested in playing with the idea of the future and expectations for the future, expectations for change, and the idea of what's possible. Because in my book, the future is only subtly different from the present. It's the near future. So not so much time has elapsed. Um, but I think as opposed to writing speculatively about the future, I was more interested in um, sort of just thematically using the future to reflect sort of biases and prejudices and fantasies that we have about change. And the book is mostly about a family, it's about relationships, and in particular, it's about a 30 plus year relationship, marriage between Leo and Echo, so the father and mother of the family in Shanghailanders. And throughout 30 years of a relationship, obviously people can change, but in many ways, people don't change or never change or and I was interested in questioning the idea of what remains essential about a person through time, through their childhood, because of history and genetics and the where they were raised, what sort of remains essential about a person, what changes, what expectations of change do we have from a partner or loved ones, and how can that change be dramatic but also not dramatic, and in what ways do we expect mm, this kind of aggressive change? In what ways do we get it? The father and mother, Leo and Echo, um, they are Shanghainese and French Japanese, or Japanese French, and then they have three daughters, Yumi, Yoko, and Yukiko, who's called Baby Kiko. And then, of course, surrounding them are their domestic staff. They're incredibly rich, they're incredibly privileged, and they have nannies and drivers and all kind of supporting um, staff in their house. So one chapter is narrated from a live-in nanny that's been with them for many years, and then one chapter is narrated from the perspective of their private driver. And so, yeah, I mean, I had so much fun with all of the characters, and but I would probably I think probably the voiciest characters, like the characters who have the strongest voice and charisma are probably um like the driver and baby Kiko. She's certainly a personality. And so and even the nanny, kind of embodying that voice. She speaks in the first she her character is written in the first person. So I really had to kind of embody that voice, that narrative. And those characters were certainly a lot of fun to write because they're very extra in some ways. The book covers um it covers a certain span of time, but it also dips into the past. So it dips into, say, some of the history of China in the 20th century, kind of very, very, just kind of touching it, but it's always there because it's always impacting the characters, how they grew up. So the Cultural Revolution and also the incredible like development of Shanghai, which also on the flip side is also kind of a kind of destruction of Shanghai and some in some ways to develop this new glittering city. Um, and although the characters are very wealthy, they came from, less privileged backgrounds. So there's always kind of the specter of that as well. And so I wanted to question some of the structures. I wanted to look at the structures that people come up through. And I think that one of those and the way that sometimes there are no other options but to move through those. And I think that in some way, um, marriage, coupledom, um, is one of them.